Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Today we will continue our chapter 8 for the basic programming, which is the control statements. Okay, so for the part B, we will start with the dangling problem. Okay, we'll see that on the next slide. What is the dangling else problem? Okay, so according to Wikipedia, let's see the definition first. So dangling else is a problem in computer programming in which an optional else clause in an if statement result in nested conditionals being ambiguous. Okay, so it means that if you are unclear how to pair the else with the if in a nested statement or in a complex statement, so that's where the dangling else problem occur. Okay, so in order to solve that, you can see the what is written on the slide. It said that in order to solve that, it suggests that always pair an else with the most recent unpaired if in the current block. Okay, and then you have to use the curly bracket to clarify the intended meaning, even if not even if it is not necessary. Okay. Okay. So to understand, let's follow the example in this slide, which is, let's say we have the value of a, b, and c, and then okay, so we are trying to find what is the full value of C in the following code. Okay. Okay, so this is how you write the dangling else problem based on previous slide suggestion, which is you pair the else with the most recent if. Okay, so this is the else, and then if you're not sure whether you want to pair with this one and this one, we just pair with the most recent if, which is in this case is this one. And then do not forget to put the curly bracket. So if you put the curly bracket before the recent one, you have to make sure you have to close it here. Okay, so this is the right way how to write the dangling how to solve the if else problem in the nested statement. Okay, now let's go for the short circuit evaluation. All right. So the short circuit evaluation is how the computer program evaluate the logical expression. Okay. So let's say we start with an example of n, logical of n. Okay. So this is an example of logical of n. So this is the what we call this symbol, the written. So it means that for the n, so we know that for the n, both of them must be true, so that the output will be true. So true and true will give an output of true. So for this one, if the first operand of the logical AND giving the output of false, so they will not evaluate for the second operand because they know that the result must be false, automatically will be false. So they will just evaluate the first operand. Okay, meanwhile for the OR expression, so they know that either true or false, they must be true, the output, because uh, one of them must be true, okay, to give the output of true. So in this case, so if the expression is true for the first one, so they will not evaluate for the second evaluation because they know that the result must be true. Okay, so this is how the short circuit evaluation was done by the C++ programming. Let us continue with the switch statement. All right. So normally switch case statement is used when we have multiple condition. Okay. And we need, and for each condition they will have their own action. All right. So uh, in, in addition of the switch statement, we still can use the if else if statement for multiple condition. But for large condition, the if else if statement will become complex and the execution will be slower compared to the switch statement. So it is suggested that to use the switch statement for large condition so that the problem will be less complex, the code will be less complex, and it can be executed faster. All right. So this is the what we call, this figure shows the flow of the switch statement. Okay. So in this case, we can see that we have four different cases, which is value one, value two, value three, and value four. So each value will be determined by different case or different determinant. Okay, and then for each value of each case, will have their own action to be executed based on the input that key in by the user. Okay. Okay, so this is the syntax for the switch statement. Okay, for the switch statement, we will start with the switch. For this one, it will be defined by specific argument or statement. And then after that, we will open with the curly bracket. And then after the curly bracket, we will put the case. Okay, any case depending on what you want to define. What is the what we call the condition, and will be followed by the action or the output from the case. After that, it will be separated with the break, okay, before the next case. All right, and then it can be continuous, and then for the final case, it will be the default, and there will be only one default for each switch statement, uh, and then closed by the curly bracket. Okay, so for the switch, uh, there are only three expressions that can be used, which are a boolean, an integer, or a character. So instead of this else from this one, they can be used for the selected expression for the switch. Okay, all right. And then for the case, it must match with the case label. So this one, it must be matched, and so that the switch or the case can be differentiated between each other. Okay, so the way how the switch statement works is that first, if what we call the switch is satisfied, okay, and then we will go for the case. All right. So from the case, they will go for the output, and then once the break is encountered, they will straightaway go to the end of the switch statement. Okay. Otherwise, if there is no break, it will continue for the next cases. So it will list out all the cases if no break is what we call written in the code. Okay, so again same. So for this one, if let's say there is no break here, so it will straight away go to the next case until it mid break, and then going out from the switch statement. Okay. Okay, let's see an example of the switch statement. Let's say you have a grade, okay, which is you key in the grade, and then you can define whether you are grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D, and grade F. Okay, this is how you write the switch statement. Okay, so you have defined the integer, which is score, and divided by 10. Okay, so if in case if you get case 10, all right, or case 9, so these two cases, if it's satisfied, you will have grade A as the output, and then it will break and then going out from the switch statement. Or in case if you got 80%, okay, 80 marks, so you will go for this one. Okay, so you will get grade B. Okay, and then it will go break and then will going out from the loop of the switch statement. Or else, same, if you get case 7, will go, you will have grade C as output, and then again will go break and then going out, and that's, and if in case you didn't have the score is less than 60%, so you will have grade F as the output. All right. Okay, so in this question, if you have 95, what grade that will you get? So in this case, 95 is within this region. Okay, So then you will have grade A as the output. What happens if you take out the break, what we call line? So if you didn't put the break line, once you key in the score, it will list out from all the output. So means that it will list out the grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D, and grade F as the output. Okay. So for the switch, it's important to have break so that it can stop at specific cases and then bring this what we call problem, or no, bring the code outside of the loop once it meet the condition of the cases. Okay, right. So some points to remember for the switch case, which is one. Okay, so expression for each case label must be in a constant expression. So let's say if you have case A, so you have to put the following case as case B, case C, and case D. You cannot put case 1 and then after that case B, and then after that case 3, and then after that case D. So it's not constant. Okay, and second, no two case labels may have the same value. So the case must be defined by different value. Okay, and then the two cases may be associated with the same statement. Okay, so you can associate the same case with the same statement or same output, and then the default label is not required. Okay, so it's not essential to have default. Okay, and then if you want to put default, so there will be only one default label, and it is usually at the last line. Okay, so after the last cases. All right. Okay, for this slide, we'll go for the conditional ternary operator. Okay, so ternary operator is written with the question mark and colon symbol. Okay, all right. The syntax is, let's say you have condition and then question mark, expression one, colon, and expression two. Okay, it means that if condition is true, or the condition is met, then the result of the condition is expression one. Otherwise, the result of the condition is expression two. Meaning that if the condition is true, then the result is expression one. If it's wrong, it will go for the expression two. Okay, for the example, see for this code. All right, so if we got y less than 10, so variant is equal to 30, else variant is equal to 40. This condition can be simplified with the ternary conditional to this, which is variant is equal to y less 10 question mark 30 colon 40. So you can see how simple the code from this to this. All right. Give it a try on the example in this slide, and then try to find the output. Okay, so hopefully you can give it go and see whether the output is true or false. Okay, now let's go for the repetition control. All right, so there may be a situation when you need to execute a block of code several number of times. Okay, so in general, the statements are executed sequentially. The first statement in a function is executed first, followed by the second, and so on. So if you look at this diagram, you can see that for the repetition control or loops, we will execute a block of code several number of times until it satisfies the condition, all right, before it will go out from this block. Okay, so there are three constructs for the repetition control, which are while statement, for statement, and do while statement. We will see these three constructs in the following slides. Now let's go for the while statement. Okay, so the while statement is written in this syntax, which is while, and then bracket, condition, and then the action below the while condition. So how it works? First, if condition is true, then the action will be executed. Okay. So first, the input will go from coming from here to the block of condition. Okay. So if the condition is met or true, then we'll go for the action phase. All right. And then this process will be repeated until the condition is not met or become false. Okay. And then once it become false, it will go out from this block, the while block, to the next phase of the code. And then for this action, it it can be a single statement or group of statements within braces. Okay. Now let's go for the while loop example. So in this slide, we can see that there is one example here, which is quite simple, a simple example, which is we have I is equal to 0, and then while I less than 4, so we'll print the I value, and then we will add the I value to 1 for each loop or for each cycle. Okay, then we close the bracket. And then this is the what we call the flow chart. Okay, so for the process, so I want you to give focus on this example and then this flow chart. Okay, so we'll go line by line for each cycle. Okay, so we will start with the initial value here, which is we know that I is equal to 0, which is the initial value of this example. And then, so yeah, this is the I value and this is the 0, which is the initial value. Then we will go for the next line of the code, which is when I is less than 4. Okay, so we know that 0 is less than 4, so it is true. Okay, so at this phase for this chart, we know that it is the condition phase. So now it is true, then means that we'll go to the statement. So which is printing the I value is the statement. And then we go to this line of code. So we are printing the I value, which is 0 at this cycle. And then we're going for the next line, which is we adding I value to 1, which is 0 plus 1. Now the new I value become 1. Okay, so once it reach this stage, it will go for the second cycle of the while loop. Okay, so we use this one value, the added or the new I value, to evaluate for the second cycle, which is now I is equal to 1 and it is still less than 4, and this statement is true. All right, again we'll print out the statement because it is true, and then we add the I value or update the I value to another value, to the new value, which is 2. Okay, so we'll bring this new value for the third cycle for the while loop. Okay, so still this value is true, and then again we're printing this statement, which is now it's becoming 2 because this is the current statement. Okay, and again we update the value to 3 because I plus plus, which is 2 plus 1. Okay, and then we go for the next cycle in the while loop, which is 3, still true. So this condition is still true and satisfied. So we'll go for the statement. We're printing the value of 3, and then we update the value of I to 4 because plus 1. And then we bring this value, the current value, for the last cycle of the while loop, which is now 4 less than 4, which is this one is incorrect or false. Okay, so this condition is not met. So once it's not met, it will go out from this block of code. Okay, so if true, it's going down, but since it's false, so it's going down into block of code, and then yeah, it will stop here. And then in reality, it will go for the next we call line of code that you guys have written. Now let's go for the second example of the while loop. So if the first example we are using the counter loop, which is we set specific number so that we can predict how many loops it will be because it's already fixed. But for this example, we are going to use sentinel control, which means the number of loop is uncertain. because it will depending on the input of the user. Okay, so for this one, it's not harder, but it's more tricky because you don't know how many loops for that output will be. Okay, so let's go for the example. So this is the example of the code, which is we set the integer value and the input as the zero. Actually, this one is the condition for the while loop. Okay, and then if it's true, you will have to print this one. Okay, sorry, this is actually I, not L. Okay, and then this is I value, the update I value, and then you print the I, and then you also print this one. So asking if the user want to stop or want to continue the code or calculation. If the user choose to press one means the program will be stopped, but else than one it will keep continuing. Okay, and then let's say the user choose to press one to stop. So this will be the final output from this loop. Okay, let's go for this one. So I want you guys to focus on these blocks, which is the value of I and input. Okay, so for the first line, we know that the I is 2 and the input is 0. So because this value is what we call defined as the initial value. Okay, then we'll go for the second line. For the second line, we know that the initial value is 0 for the input. So since 0 is not equal to 1, so mean it's true. Okay, then since it's true, so we'll print this output. Okay, so I times I. So actually this output is from this line. So sorry, this is actually I, not L. Okay, so it will print this one, and then after that it will go to this line of code. So at the current I value, it is 2. So I is equal to 2 times 2. So it will update the I value. So it becoming 4. So now the I value is 4. Alright. And then again, for this line of code, we'll ask the user whether they want to stop or want to continue. So if the user choose not to stop, which is let's say he choose 3, so it means this is when the user inputting the value, which is now is 3. And then if you see at this block, now the I value is becoming 4. This 4 is from here, okay, or from this line of code. So which we already update the I value from 2. So 2 times 2 is becoming 4. So now the current I value is 4. And then the input is 3. So this 3 value is coming from the user input, which is 3. Okay. So then since the user not going to stop, okay, so and it choose 3. Let's see what happen next. So we while the input is 3, which is 3 is unequal or not equal to 1. So it's true. Again, we repeat the same process. We're printing this one, which is I times I. Okay. So now we are printing the current I value, which is now it's 4. So 4 times 4 is equal to, so we are updating this I value, which is 4 times 4. So now it's become 16. See? So now it's become 16. And then we'll print it here. So because we're asking the code to print it here. And then again, we ask the user whether they want to stop or to want to continue. So if the user choose 1, so means it is asking to stop. Let's say the user asks to stop, which is 1. Okay. And then, so since it is 1, okay. So while input 1 uh, not equal to 1, so it is actually this is false because 1 is equal to 1, and then it automatically will stop. So it will go out from this chunk of code and then going to this line, which is printing the program finish. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this example. Now we'll continue for the for loop. Okay, so for the for loop, it is controlled by a counter, and then the syntax for the for loop is first okay. 4, then we have bracket. So in this bracket, we will have the initial value, condition, and the counter. All right, and this counter will be updated for each loop or for each cycle. Okay, and then after that, we will have the statement or the action. Okay, so for the for loop, it's not limited to only one action or one statement. You can have more than one, like for this one. So you have statement and again another statement. Okay. Okay. So for the for loop, it will execute the initial value, and then it will check the condition, and then while the condition is true, okay, so the statement will be executed, and then the counter will be updated, and then as long as the counter still within the condition, so it will the loop will keep continuing. Okay, this is the flow of the for loop. All right. So again, you have the syntax here, and then you have the flowchart as a comparison. Okay. So let's see how the flow loop. Let's see how the for loop works. Okay. All right. So we will start with initial value here. Then, if you can see in the flowchart, we will fit with the initial value. Okay, and then after the initial value, it will go to the condition block. Right. So for the syntax, the condition will be here. Okay, and then we'll compare the condition. So if it is meet with the condition, it will become true, and if not, it will become false. Okay, so let's say if let's say if the condition is true, so we will execute the following line, which is the statement under the for loop. Okay, all right, and then once the statement is done, so the what we call the value of the counter will be increased. Okay, so uh, let's say we have initial counter, and then after that, once it's complete, so it will increase the counter, and then after that again we'll compare the condition to see whether it is meet the condition or not. If the condition is met, so again we'll go for the statement, and then we'll increase the counter. But let's say it is not met with the condition, so it will become false. Okay, and then it will go out from this block of code for another task. All right. Okay, so now we will go for a simple example of the for loop. Right, so we have the code here, the simple code, and then we will have the flowchart that shows the flow of the for loop. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, so before that, I want you to see at the code. So we have initial value of I is equal to 0, and then the condition is I less than 3, and then this is where we update the counter, which is I plus plus. So we increase the I value by 1 for each cycle or for each loop. All right. So we'll go for this one. So this is the initial value. So we know that the initial value is I is equal to 0. And then we will go for the condition here. So condition is I less than 3. So we know that for the initial, we know I is equal to 0. And then the condition is less than 3 and it's true. Okay. So since it's true, we will go for the statement here, which is uh, we will print out the word of sentence of I will do my homework. Okay, and then after this print out of or after this action, we increase the counter by 1, which is here I plus plus, which is 0 plus 1. Now the new I has been updated to 1. So previously it is 0, now it's becoming 1. And then for the next cycle, so again we continue with the what we call condition. Okay, so we compare again the condition. Now the new I value is 1, and it is still less than 3, and it's true. Again, it will print out the statement that is I will do my homework. Again, so that we will increase the counter. So 1 plus 1 will become 2. Okay, and then again we'll go for the comparison at the condition box. Okay, which is I less than 3. Since 2 still less than 3, so again it is still true, it will print another statement, and then again increase the counter before comparing at the what we call condition. Okay, so now the updated one is 3. Okay, so 2 plus 1 becoming 3, and 3 is less than 3 is false. All right, and then since it false, it will go out from this block of code, and then the uh, what we call the statement will not be printed, and it will carry out another task written in the code. Okay. Now we will go for an example of printing a sum of a value. Okay, let's say we have several values, and then you want to print each of the value, and then we want to add or to sum the whole values that been keyed in by the user. Okay, so this is the code for the example, and then this is the flowchart for the for loop. Okay, so we'll see how it works. All right. So before that, I just want to show you. So we in this case we have two initial value, or which is no, two, three. Okay. So first is sum, okay, which is we set as integer, and it is equal to 0. And then um, another what we call variables called as val, also set as integer and equal to 0. And then I on the counter is starting with 1. All right. So we'll see how it works. Okay, so as I mentioned, we know that we have sum is equal to 0, and then we have val. This is another variable which is also equal to 0, and then for this one we start for the condition of for, which with I, which is the initial value is I is equal to 1. All right, and then we'll fit into the condition block. Okay, so we know that the condition is since I less or equal to 3. Okay, so since 1 is less or equal to 3, so it is true, and then we'll go for the statement inside the for loop. The first statement is we are printing the word of value and the value of I from here. Okay, so now we have value 1. Okay, so this is the value, and then this is I from here, and then this is the colon from here. All right, then we are asking user to key in the value here, which is in the value. So any value that user want to key in, which will count at the end of this code. Okay, the sum of it will counted at the end of this code. So let's say the user key in the value of 8. Okay, so now the uh, initial value of value, which is 0, has been updated to 8. All right. Okay, and then we'll go for the count. We'll go for this one. Okay, which we increase, or which we update the amount of sum. So the initial sum is 0. Alright, so since this one we consider as initial, so 0 plus 8, now the new sum value will be 8. So that's why you can see that the new one, the new value of sum is 8. Okay, then so this all these are the statement or action that will be carried out in this for loop. Okay, and then after that we'll go to increase the counter, which is I. Okay, so I plus plus, which is initial value is 1. Okay, plus 1, now the I value becoming 2. Okay, and then we'll continue with the condition. Okay, still it is true, so we'll go again for the statement component. Okay, so we print this block, which is we're printing the word of value, and then the new value of I, which is the current value of I is 2. Okay, and then again, if the user key in the value of sorry, the if the user key in the variable of value as 1. Okay, so now the value of val becoming 1. Okay, so this one based on the what user key in. All right, and we'll print it here. Okay, and then we are updating the sum value. Okay, so previously we have value sum is 8. Okay, plus 1, so the updating or the final sum will be 9. Okay, because 8 plus 1 becoming 9, so now we update the value to 9. All right, and then again we increase the counter, so now it's becoming 3, which is 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. And then since 3 less or equal to 3 is still true, so we'll carry out the statement inside the for loop. Okay, so we'll print the word of value and then the number of updated I, which is now is 3, and then this is the value that will be keyed in by the user. Okay, so let's say the user key in the value of 3. Okay, and then we will update the sum value, which is now is 9. This one 9 is from the previous one plus 3, so the updated one will be 12. Okay, so now the final sum value will be 12. All right, so we'll increase the counter again. So now the counter is 4. Since the 4 is not less or equal to 3 and it becoming false. And once it false, it will go out from this block of code, and then it will print out this word, which is the sum value, and then we'll print out what is the calculated sum value here. And we see that when it's going out, so we'll print this one, which is sum. So we're printing sum is equal to the sum value that we calculated here. So this is how the for loop works. Okay, for calculating the sum value of key in numbers by the user. Now let's go for the do while loop. So in this do while loop, okay, so the statement in this loop will be executed first, okay, before the condition is tested. So means we go for the statement, and then after that we'll go with the condition. All right, and then so the loop can be controlled by a condition or a counter. So we can set both to control the loop. So the syntax for the do while loop is, so we have do here, and then open curly bracket, statement. So the statement can be more than one, and then we will close the bracket. We will go with the while, which is we will have the condition for the while, and then again we will have another statement on that. So we will see an example on the following slide for the do while loop. Okay. Now we will go for the example of the do while loop. Okay. So we have piece of code here. All right. You have initial value of num, which is set as 0, and then initial value of sum also set as 0. Okay, and then for this line of code, we will ask the input from the user to update the value of num. Okay, and then after that, we'll go for the do loop, which is sum is equal to sum plus num modulus 10. Okay, so hopefully you guys remember what is modulus mean. So modulus means the value of before modulus divided by the value after the modulus. So the output will be the remainder from the process of the division. Okay, so we'll see later how it works. And then num is equal to num divided by 10. And then we'll go for the while loop, which is this is the statement. Okay, for the while loop, which is num is larger than 0. And then after that, this is the output sum of digit if this while statement is not satisfied. Okay, so we'll go with the example. So let's say the user key in the value of 12867 as the new num. Okay, which is for this one, the user key in this one. And then for the sum still 0 because it is taken from the initial value of sum. All right, so this is what happened behind the process. Okay, for this line of code, so we are updating the sum value. Okay, so we know that the initial sum value is 0. Okay, and the num value is 12867 from this one, and then modulus 10. Okay, so division of 12867 by 10 will give the remainder of 7, which will be here. Okay, so the sum value will be updated by applying this process, which is 0 plus 7 will be equal to 0. So the new sum will be 0. We'll see that this value will be updated to 7. Okay, all right. And then let's go for the next line, which is num is equal to num divided by 10. So we know that the current value of the num is 12867. Okay, and then divided by 10. So it will become 1286. Since it is set as the integer, this is the reason why the decimal point is removed from this value. Okay, So now we have the new num set, which is instead of 12867, now it becoming 1286. All right. Then we will go for the while statement. So the while statement said that num is larger than 0. Okay. Since this value is larger than 0, so we will not go out for this piece of code, which is the cout, but we will keep repeating this process, the do process. Okay. So we'll see for the how it works. Okay, now again it's repeating. So they are using the updated sum value. Okay, so now the sum value is 7. So this is from the previous cycle or loop, and then plus the new num, which is 1286. So this one also taken from the previous loop. Okay, and then divided by 10. So this is constant because based on the equation. So this value divided by 10, we will have remainder of 6. Okay, so now the new sum will be updated to 7 plus 6 and equal to 13. And we will see that the value of sum will be updated to 13. How about the value of num? It will be also updated for this loop. So we know that the num value is 1286, and then divided by 10. Again, we will have 128. So this will be the new value of num after the update. Okay, and we'll go for the while statement. So since 128 is larger than 0, so it satisfies this condition. Then it will go again for the do loop. Okay, yeah. So now we use the value from the second loop, which is 1 to 8. Okay, so we will process or will carry out the operation, which is here. So the previous one is 13 based on the second loop, plus 1 to 8 also from the previous loop divided by modulus 10. Sorry, modulus 10. Okay, so from this process we'll get the value of 8. Okay, so the update value of sum will be 13 plus 8, and it will be equal to 21. Okay, so this value will be updated here, 21. All right, and then so we'll go for the new value of num, which is num is equal to num divided by 10. So this 1 to 8 value is taken from the previous cycle, 1 to 8, and we divide it by 10, and we will get 12. Okay, so the new value of num now will be 12 instead of 1 to 8. Again, we'll compare with the while code, while statement, and 12 is still larger than 0. So we'll go for the another cycle for this value, for this process. And then so again, we repeat the same process. Now we know that the previous value of sum is 21 plus 12 modulus 10. So we know this value will be 2. Okay. So the new value of sum will be 23. Okay. We will update this one to 23. And then meanwhile for the num also we will update to a new value, which is num divided by 10 will be 1. Okay. So instead of 12, now it's becoming 1. Okay. So you'll see that this value will be updated to 1. And then again, we'll go to the while condition. 1 is still larger than 0. So we will repeat again another cycle. So the process is still the same. So we update the sum value with 23 plus 1 modulus by 10. So we got 1. So it will become 24. So we'll update here from 23 to 24. And then again for the num, so num divided by 10, which is 1 divided by 10, will become 0. Okay, because it will be like 0 0.1. So the decimal point will be removed, so it will become 0. Okay, so now the new num is 0. All right, you can see that. So while num is larger than 0, which is for this condition, it is not true. So since it is, will carry out the output after the while one. So yeah, once it's false, so we'll go to this one, which is we are giving the sum of the digit, okay, that we carried out or that we have accumulated here. So now the sum of the digit from here showing that is 24. Okay, all right. So this is how the do while loop works.